So for this video, I am trying a different style in that it's more conversational, and I'm moving away from the script. And this suggestion came from Justin, my brother. All right, Justin, you asked me to do a natural style of speaking versus script reading. Tell me your reason why, or your opinion why.
You're a good writer, which is probably why you started reading from your writings. But when you're watching a video, it doesn't sound natural. So I'd ask you to do just natural talking because it's something I want to listen to. Not somebody reading off something. So
That's pretty offensive.
yeah, I gotta tell you the truth. I'm your brother, so I gotta be real.
All right, that's true. Thank you.
I want you to improve and get better.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been wanting to make this for some time, but I wanted to speak on a story that I am frequently reminded of, especially when you're faced with a little trouble. And obviously, in life, we're all faced with trouble, and our coping mechanism with facing trouble is different. And I'm not here to judge what's right or wrong, but it's interesting to see how and why people cope with things. But one common theme I've seen in myself personally is sometimes when you're faced with trouble, like for instance at your workplace, or you're faced with a time when a person or a man has to make judgment over you, or they have to make a decision, it can be nerve-wracking. And I've experienced that before, and obviously it's nothing new to anyone. As long as you're a human being, you will experience that. But it's always good to retain stories for other folks that have experienced what or had experiences prior to you, or have experiences in workplaces, which it follows a common theme. And from learning from their experiences, you can apply it to your own life. My uncle, and to go on to the story that I remember is my uncle, who is currently retired from the New York City transit system, described a story once about when he started his first year on the job with the transit system. As many people know, the transit system is generous in terms of its pay, and its retirement benefits are amazing, especially the New York City system. And it's coveted by a lot of people. People want to get onto those jobs. So this one time he was on his first year of the job, as I just said, on the 10th month. He described it perfectly. He was starting his 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. So obviously that's the night shift, and not a coveted position. But I guess my assumption is that because it's his first year, he had to take that time slot. So he got on a train once, and it was in Queens, and he was traveling into Manhattan, and he got onto an empty train car, and he stood there, or sat I guess, and three men got onto the train. Two of the men blocked exits, and one approached my uncle, and he had something under his shirt, and my uncle didn't know if it was a gun or if it was just his hand in shape of a gun. But either way, he was being approached with some, just the posturing was very negative. The person that approached him asked his exact words were, "What exactly is stopping me from killing you right now?" And that, for me personally, when I was young, listening to the story, that shocked me. My uncle's response was, my uncle's response was exactly what I remember to this day, and I use for all similar circumstances. So my uncle's response was, "You don't decide when I die, God does." And my uncle's next description was that they all had a look of confusion on their faces. And at the next stop, they all walked out. And funny enough, they all exited out of the same platform, going out onto the street. Which I thought was pretty funny, that they just had this awkward moment and almost violent moment. And it ended up the way it did. And my uncle attributed the whole situation to God. And obviously I do too. And I see the value of that comment. And I see the bigger value in that comment, in that story, which I apply to situations in my own life today. So what I gathered was, if you're ever faced with something like a bad situation where a person has to judge your situation, it's easier on the mind to know that no matter what happens in that short-term outcome, that the long-term is decided by God and not that person that's deciding at that very moment. Something that I really think about. Thanks.